have been a few separate videos and gameplay teasers all surrounding the new Satisfactory updates, so today we'll be compiling a list of everything that we know of so far that's confirmed to be coming into Satisfactory Update 1.1, and what isn't yet confirmed. Let's begin. Lift. Lift is actually shown in multiple different shots, such as this one right here, where we can see this little glass tower in the background. And again, on the right side of the screen, we can see another shot here of the lift, which is in fact the same lift as this shot right here. Then the final shot over here, we can see the lift door on the very left side. And we can also see here that it appears this is how the lift is powered and turned on. When you place down one of these doors, which I'm hoping you get to rotate to wherever suits you best, you then have to connect it through the cable there, and then it just turns on the entire thing. So that seems like a pretty good idea. Just to let you know, we are going to be zooming in quite a lot today, so as you can imagine, the pixels might not be perfect, but I do want to try and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about, so I will be zooming in quite a bit. But as you can see, this door, which goes with this lift, is also new as well, which is fantastic. We've still got a lot of questions that are left unanswered. How high can you build a lift? How many doors can you have? Do you have to connect power to every single door like what we can see going on over here? Because it appears like you have to. And also, can you transport vehicles inside of the lift, such as a factory cart? Regardless, this is of course a brilliant feature and I cannot wait to use it. Removable crash sites. Unfortunately, this gameplay is a little bit blurry, but essentially we had this teased quite a while ago, where, as you can see, you can now remove crash sites in Satisfactory. Some debris can give you iron rods, iron plates, copper sheets. Some can also give you wire, even some screws, and reinforced iron plates. Not to mention rotors too. Of course, you can still pick up everything else around the crash site as you usually would. Also, when Update 1.1 does drop, I will be doing a full overview stream where we test out all the new features, all the new items, all the new buildables. So if you're interested in that, then feel free to stick around. We've got a lot more 1.1 content that's going to be released on the channel. Filters. We have got loads of filters available to us now in Satisfactory 1.1, and these are the few that we've been able to get a glance at. I have talked about these filters rather a lot on my video that I released just a couple days ago, but I will say I do absolutely adore these filters. I think they are amazing. Let me know in the chat which one's your favorite filter. Conveyor, overhaul. The main thing that I'll be talking about for now are these numbers on the conveyor belt right here. And what I've been able to find out is that this red line that we see here is essentially a laser. And when I play this clip in the background, pay very close attention to what we see over here. Right now the number's on 187, but when we fast forward a little bit, it goes up to 189 without any sort of player interaction. This means that this red laser somehow scans the conveyor belt and knows exactly how many items per minute are being transported on this conveyor belt. And again, here is that full clip. It is amazing. So the fact that the game can automatically do this for you now is brilliant. Well, my one main concern though is because this does use laser technology, this might be one of those items that's only available in like phase 5. So you've got to play the game for hundreds of hours before you actually unlock this. I really hope that's not the case, and instead you have to use some sort of like high-speed connector or AI limiter to try and get this thing actually sorted. Orange beam. And again, this is one of those screenshots where there's a lot to analyze. The very first thing that we'll be talking about though is this orange beam, where it offers a brand new pattern in the game we have never seen before. And as you can see here, we've got a horizontal and vertical variant as well, which is fantastic to see. But you know what? I think it's quite nice, and I'm obviously guessing that you can try and change the color here as well. We don't yet know what material this is going to be made from, but if I was to guess, I'm going to say it's either plastic or maybe even steel beams. But yeah, as of right now, we just have no idea. If you very quickly look at the shape here, then look at the shape that's going vertically, we can see it actually looks a little bit different. This, if we were to face it vertically, so it ends up looking a little bit like that, which I know is a bit weird. This looks a little bit like a ladder almost, like you could expect to almost walk up that. But then again, when we look at this angle, it looks a bit different. So maybe these offer two different patterns depending on what side you place it on. But again, very hard to tell at this stage, and this is a very weird view. Road piers. What we see underneath this little railway is what I mean by the road piers. Essentially, when we zoom in here, the shape doesn't look particularly rectangular. Instead, it is slightly angled, which makes me think this is actually a road pier. And of course, the further back we actually look, the wider it ends up getting. So again, I am convinced this is new, but it's difficult to tell at this point just because of the pixelation and the fact that I can't physically tell from this angle. But it does look like, yes, it is new. New explodable tree. Again, let's rewind now to the last few weeks where we got this little teaser over here, which clearly shows this tree being exploded. Now, as far as what I'm aware, you were never able to destroy these trees before 1.1, which means that yes, this is actually a new feature. Something else that people pointed out is the radiation damage. This can of course be from plutonium or fixonium, but as we can see down here, it is neither of those. Instead, it's just the regular nuclear nobelisk. So that is not new, this is not new, but the trees being destroyed in the background using the explosives is new for this tree type. Conveyor lift, splitters, and mergers. Yes, of course I'm going to talk about it. It is this item at the very top left of your screens, where you can now add a splitter or a merger on top of your conveyor lift. And as we can see here through like the 4 pixels currently on your screen, is that we have got a constructor over here with its output facing, I'm guessing, a merger, where we can then see the items either going up or down, because we're able to merge all of these constructors on a conveyor lift, not like at the very top or at the very bottom where you obviously can do that for a while now, but literally in the middle of it, which looks like an absolutely incredible feature that I'm very excited that they are adding into the game. Something else that we also can't seem to spot is, again, the lasers we were talking about a bit earlier that analyze how many items per minute you got on a conveyor belt. I don't know if we can place that on a conveyor lift. Bendy pipes. These pipes are bending, which makes them bendy pipes because they are pipes that are bending. These bendy pipes then bend because they're pipes that are bending. Not only that, but they are bending in a way that they've never bended before. So that's obviously a new feature coming into 1.1, especially this bend right there. If you were to try this before, it would absolutely not look like this. And as you can see, it looks absolutely beautiful. I think I was mentioning this in a video that I released on Friday as well, but it's like perfect cable management. Like the way it's all almost tied together here is absolutely beautiful. If you're a big fan of trying to make your factory look visibly good, this, in my opinion, is actually a really positive step forward, and of course, it's part of the new update, so I'll never say no to it. Bendy conveyor belts. Now, as I was giving my whole song and dance about the bendy pipes over here, a few of you might have actually noticed this, which is essentially our conveyor belts, but they're bending in a way where, again, they've never been able to bend before. If you try and do something like this right now, or something over there, you physically cannot do it. But now in 1.1, it appears that there's a new bend tool, which looks really, really good. But regardless, yes, bendy pipes, great, and bendy conveyor belts. New steel beam. As we can see, we seem to have some screw pattern going all the way up, which as of right now is not currently in the game, which must mean that these steel support beams are indeed new. And I keep saying steel support beams, we don't know what resource it requires, but if I was to have a guess, I would say steel. This was actually quite difficult to spot in the trailer itself, but I'm happy we did indeed manage to spot it. This is one of actually a few new architectural pieces in this update, which as a big fan of architecture in Satisfactory, this is fantastic. Nuclear waste. Of course, nuclear waste has been in the game for quite a long time now, but one thing that we think they might have changed is the actual saturation or the visibility of the nuclear waste itself. It appears far more green than what it did previously. This might potentially be new, we don't yet know, but as of right now, let's just assume it is, which if it is new, then that's great. We do love a nice saturation change every now and then, but if it's not new, then oh well, it is what it is. It's not really a major change or new update anyway. Angled walls. In this still image right here, we can see this particular angled wall, which is most certainly doable on a blueprint designer. All you have to do is place a catwalk or a pathway right there, then angle it a little bit to the right, then keep doing that all the way around. Now, some people were saying this could just be a brand new feature. Maybe you can now do angled walls or snap angled walls so much easier than before. I'm still unsure about this personally. I still think this has just been made in the blueprint designer, but you never know. I always like to be positive, so we are going to assume for now that this is a potential new feature having angled walls. But I feel like if that was a new feature, there'll be far more attention drawn towards this, since that is a huge new addition into the game. But considering it's only been thrown into one shot, I think this has just been made in the blueprint designer, but as of right now, we don't know. 3-way hypertube splitters. Again, this is something else we've actually known about now for about a month, but as we can see right here, in fact on all 4 corners, we have actually got a hypertube that splits into 3 different directions. And we appear to have like these red lasers or red lights above here. So I'm going to assume that this light here manages to change the direction of where you want your hypertube to actually go. And here's that previous shot I was talking about just a couple minutes ago there with the steel beam. You also get another angle here of the hypertube splitter, which is great. But of course, we don't really know much else about the hypertube. Have they made it cheaper or more expensive to build? How much is this going to cost? Do you go faster or slower, or have they kept that the same? Maybe the only change here to the hypertube is the splitter, but again, until we get our hands on with the actual game itself, we can't tell. Support cable. Again, another very big thing here is our support cables. And as we can see, we've got one cable right here going from the east to the west side of our screen, then one going from the south to the north side of our screen. But as we can see here, this is different to that. So I'm guessing you've got two different kinds of cable available, which is fantastic. And again, these do seem to be those beam connectors, I think they're called, which is currently already in the game, so I don't think that's new. I did talk about this on Friday, but I do think the material needed for this is most likely going to be steel beams or steel pipes, maybe even a mix of the two. But yeah, again, this seems great. We've also got another shot of it here, where we actually seem to have like a nice cluster of cable here, whereas our shot previously only had one cable, not the bulk cables that we were able to see in that previous shot there. So it does seem that you can manually place these rather close together, which is great. Unless, of course, this is actually a third type of cable, and this actually different to the ones that we saw previously. That could, again, be the case. We don't yet know. We'll find out eventually. But it's still good to see that you can use these cables in multiple different ways, and it still does end up looking rather good. Poses. There are many different new poses that are being added into Satisfactory 1.1. Unfortunately for me, I'm an absolute loner, so things like this, when you get to see your friends doing new poses, isn't going to change my life whatsoever, because I play by myself. Regardless though, if you love it or not, it is something that is new coming into 1.1. Ventilation. Here we are again revisiting this scene with the potential curved walls. Where if you notice over here, we seem to have some sort of ventilation system, which might not necessarily look new. And that's because the top of the refinery, I believe at least, looks extremely similar to this. So this, in theory from this angle, is not new. However, that doesn't explain this shot right here where, yet again, you can see this new ventilation thing. And by the way, I keep calling it ventilation. It might just be a random vent that doesn't do anything. It might not even be a vent, but it looks like some sort of ventilation of some sort at least. Concrete pillars. So it seems like with this pillar right here, you can actually place it vertically and horizontally, which is beautiful. And again, I did actually talk about this concrete box on Friday, so I'm not going to repeat myself too much, but again, that is new as well. And yet again, we also see this horizontal concrete pillar on this bridge shot, which again, looks great, and it actually really fits in rather well with this bridge, so that's fantastic. New gates. Yep, very quickly we have got a new gate, and it doesn't look too bad. As we can see here, opens and closes just like so. And of course, the gate then gets revealed to then reveal the lift, the ventilation, the new conveyor belt systems, these racks of some sorts, and of course the new poses. So this shot is actually really cool. It's just that this gate is just a gate, but it's still good to have a new one, and again, it's new in 1.1, so I'm going to mention it. New racks. As we can see on the left and right side of this shot, we've got these new racks that I don't necessarily think are made to store items, but I think they're just another form of like steel foundations or steel supports, which is again a new thing in the game, which is fantastic. However, we could also see them being used over here as well, which in this shot, they are actually holding the personal storage boxes, both there and also over to the left side of the screen there as well. So maybe they're multi-purpose. I mean, we can't really tell, but one thing that we can tell though is that you can indeed hold items on them. And they do appear to be new, so that's great as well. That's everything new in the Satisfactory 1.1 teasers. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you like Satisfactory, and goodbye.